Yo, in the Raider Nation, it's your boy Dub Raider. Welcome to another episode of the Raider Nation Weekly Wire. Chris from Protect the Shield here with me, as always, giving us his knowledge, his information, and his point of view. Chris, welcome to another week of the Weekly Wire. Thankfully, the draft is over. We can stop speculating and start diving into the picks that we got. How you doing, my brother?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Good. You know, it's been a journey to finally get here. You know, I couldn't wait till we actually can kind of get into the meat and potatoes about our off season, because we got past the free agencies and all that stuff, and now we got our new class of draft prospects. So it's exciting now, man. Now we kind of see how the team is kind of being built and all that stuff. So it's a good time to be a Raiders fan because we haven't lost yet. So we're all happy still now.
Yeah, it's always butterflies and rainbows.
Right, at this time
after the draft.
Right.
So let's see how it goes, but hopefully everything goes well as we think it would, based on the strategy that the upper echelon of the Raider organization has been doing, giving these team-friendly contracts, picking the players that we need, so we'll see.
Yeah.
So Raider Nation, this week is going to be special. Usually we do Chris's Weekly Word and we do Football 101, but because the draft just happened, all we're going to dedicate this week is to the draft, to the picks that we had, and getting some information, because like I was telling Chris earlier, past the first round, I had no clue who these kids were.
Yeah.
So we need to get some more information from Chris, because him in the war room have really been giving us some extensive information on these players. So now let's give it to you here at the Weekly Wire. So Chris, let's start off obviously with our number one draft pick, 6th round, Ashton Jeanty. Running back.
So even before we go there, just kind of looking at this draft class all together, I mean, we did a very good job kind of working the board and stuff like that. So, just starting off with the first pick, Ashton Jeanty, running back, he is the best running back, out of the whole class. And this was a strong running back class. So, the guy's a dog, there's no other way around it. He's a dog, his numbers show it. He's a guy with a dynamic skill set, a guy that broke a lot of tackles, a guy that's exciting to watch. So he's definitely someone that Raider Nation can get excited about. Now, me personally, I didn't necessarily want to get him because I don't believe in just getting a running back that early in the first round. But the fact that we got him, he's going to help out a lot of people, whether it's a quarterback. He's going to help out, even the offensive line, because he has good instinct and stuff like that. He's going to help out Brock Bowers because, now they have another weapon that they got to worry about, and he's going to help out the receivers. So, he's going to help out everybody on the field.
Yeah, I also was, I was okay with the pick, because definitely it was a major need that we had, because our running game was crap last season.
Yeah, the worst.
I was hoping, to get more draft picks, because like we had talked about in the past, we have a lot of holes to fill.
Yeah.
And we only had, 9 picks initially, if I'm not mistaken. So we needed more picks. So I thought if we would have traded back on the first round, we could have gotten another first round later, obviously, and then, maybe gotten another two picks additional to the first round, maybe, that would have helped us fill those holes. But we picked Ashton Jeanty. It was a position of need. He is the best running back, even though there was, a large amount of running backs available in this draft, but it is what it is. They see something that maybe we don't see, at least that I don't see, and everybody was excited. Everybody that I was with on draft day, they were all excited that he's on the team, and let's wait and see. But what are your thoughts on him now as a Raider? Do you think, based on his college career, he's actually gonna be a good fit for us?
Yeah, I think if I'm just thinking about fit, in a Chip Kelly offense, I think he definitely can be dynamic there. They're going to want to run the ball. He's a workhorse. He has good endurance. He's a guy that you can hand the ball off quite a bit. He could take hits. He stays healthy. I mean, he runs hard. There's some fumble concerns a little bit. But overall, I'm not worried about him being a fit for the team. He's gonna have good work ethic. He's gonna always stay in shape. So,
right.
He
looks like he's in really good shape.
Oh yeah, he definitely is. He definitely is. So he's a little machine, man. He's a machine.
Now, here's one thing that I'm always concerned of with any player: his health. Did he get hurt a lot in college? Do you know? Is he more of an individual that takes care of himself? Doesn't take risks?
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't heard of too much like injury concern. I know that wasn't something that was like high in his, on his draft profile, like any concerns, not really coming off no big injuries and things like that. Oh, okay. But you never know, right. Someone like Darren McFadden, he didn't really have injuries in college, but then he, couldn't stay healthy when we got him. So you just never know, man. Dealing in the NFL, it's a whole different ballgame.
It is. It definitely is. And I'm just hopeful, that he can produce based on what he showed us in college.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me see. Now for our round 2 pick, it was pick 26, 58 altogether. It was wide receiver Jack Betch.
Yeah.
I had never heard of this kid. After the fact, I heard that, I guess the big news with him was the passing of his brother in that terrorist act in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. That was, I guess, what made the big news for him. But as far as a football player and as a second round pick, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, so when we first got him, I mean, again, just as a prospect by himself, tough kid. Tough as nails, doesn't mind doing some of that dirty work that a lot of receivers don't do. Like he'll block, he'll, catch the ball in the middle of the field. He's not scared of getting hit. He's not scared of contact. Reliable hands. I mean, the guy, I think his drop rate was probably, one of the best or like second and like compared to all receivers. So, like his hands are legit. So, he's not the most athletic guy. So when we drafted him, with me knowing we needed a receiver, getting him with his skill set, it didn't excite me.
Right.
It didn't excite me because in my mind, I'm like, hey, he was more of a luxury at that point because we already got guys that can kind of do what he does as far as like Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. Those are guys that's going to really work the intermediate, work the, middle of the field and stuff like that. We need a guy that's a burner that can go downfield and make defenses scared. And Jack's not that. So when we got him, I was not thrilled. So after that pick, I was a little teed off a little bit. But as we go on further with all these prospects, I can kind of tell you how things kind of got in a better direction and kind of when I started seeing, hey, this isn't like a normal Raider draft. These guys have a plan. Yeah, and they're working this plan out. So, but yeah, once we made the pick, I wasn't happy, but I end up coming back around.
Yeah, because like I was mentioning, I didn't know anything about the kid, so I started looking online, and I saw obviously his highlight reels, and they were amazing.
Yeah,
this kid has a great motor, not fast, but somewhat elusive. He showed some mobility, he's looks like he's very smart.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a benefit. And obviously, like for me, it was another need that we had, one of our major needs. So I thought, okay, second round wide receiver, I probably again would have picked maybe a linebacker. You know, maybe would have gone more the offensive line. Not seeing what we picked in the later rounds, but based on where we were at the time, so I was just a bit confused. I'm like, okay, the need is there, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It didn't feel right at the moment.
I'm with you. I'm with you 1,000%. Because even the guy that I wanted in the first round, Will Johnson, he was still there. But I think there was a lot of injury health concerns that made him fall down the list. But I wasn't excited. But the thing is about all these guys, now that they're Raiders, I'm fully supporting. I'm glad that we got them. But at the time, when I had my eye on some other people, it was a little shocking for me.
So like if you were the person making those choices, you would have picked Will Johnson 100%?
Oh yeah. Because I mean, again, me being a Michigan guy, I've watched Will Johnson, ever since his freshman year, coming in. I remember when he was a high recruit for us. I've always just been big on him, and I love the way he plays the game. Us fans, we're not privy to like the medical evaluations that they go through behind the scenes. So, it wasn't just the Raiders that passed on them, but, all 32 teams passed on them, there's something there that we just don't know.
Okay. So far, round 1, round 2, what grade would you give these 2 rounds?
So at the time, I'll say, so now, I'll give Genty a B, and I'll give Jack like a B-.
B-. Okay, that's not bad.
No, it's not. But that's me seeing it now. But again, during the draft, it was probably a little bit lower.
Of course.
Yeah. But the thing is, Jack is tough as nails, man. He's tough as nails, and the Raider Nation's gonna love him. Like when you hear him talk, like he's one of them guys that's gonna compete with being the first one there with Max and being the last one to leave with Max. Like that type of work ethic and that kind of grind. And, someone that has to go through a tragedy like that, like losing your brother, someone that you're that close to some, senseless, terrorist attack. It's just, I'm really rooting for him.
Yeah. And individuals like that make, I think, the team a lot better, because I think that motivation is contagious. Obviously, he has that motivation and drive for his brother. Yeah. But I think that in turn is going to motivate the rest of the team, because now you have more players with that mindset.
Exactly.
With that 100%, I got to do this, I got to make this right. This is my opportunity. I got to take it. Yeah. So if that's the case, I hope definitely he does a good job. Yeah, for me as well, these 2 picks, round 1 and round 2, I'd say about B+, maybe a B, because again, round 1, I was looking to trade back, get more picks. Round 2, didn't have a clue of the kid, except for, the bad news from the passing of his brother. Yeah. But they filled needs. Needs that our team had. All right, now we go to round 3. In round 3, we had 3 picks. Yeah. We had pick number 4, pick number 34, pick number 35. They fell at the 68th position, 98th, and 99th position. And here we picked based, I'm assuming, on our needs. And were any of these best player available? Let's start with cornerback Darian Porter.
Yeah, so Darian Porter, I was ecstatic that we got him. Now, at this point, when we drafted him, they reeled me back in. So I'm like, this is what I'm talking about, because I had my eye on him, but of course, I have, I liked Will Johnson. So in a lot of my mocks, I really didn't go back to a corner after I got Will. But I love this kid because, for one, he has that height and length that Will Johnson has. This guy has elite speed. We're talking about a 4.3 40. So this is to be honest, this is like a Al Davis old, tall guy, and he's raw because he's a converted wide receiver. So he started off as a wide receiver. So guys that kind of start with wide receiver, they automatically have like that sense of going to get the ball, because that's what you have to do. So he got converted to a corner, and you just see a lot of his skills, man. Like he's a guy that can press corner, almost how like Nnamdi was, with the long arms and, fast, very athletic. he could be special. I see him as a day one starter for sure.
Okay.
And I think he'll run our defense, very well. Like I said, he can press, if we do start doing more of that typical Pete Carroll type defense, with that cover 3, he'll be perfect at it. Perfect.
And health-wise, any concerns?
No concerns. And the thing is, he's still new to the position, so he's gonna get better. He's gonna continue developing, man. He's gonna get better. It may be a little rough at first while he's learning more, but he's mark my word. I think he's gonna be a dog.
And then my assumption is because he was a wide receiver, he could probably understand the opposing players a bit more as far as their thought process to, okay, I got to run this play this way, and he could probably anticipate some of that thought process, right?
Yeah, I mean it's very it could be like that, because a lot of times when players, when they want to get better, like for instance, I know Jacorian Bennett, when he first started, he was trying to spend a lot of time with Devontae Adams just to kind of understand the receiver's mindset and things like that. So someone like Porter, a guy who already kind of had that wide receiver mindset, it kind of helps you. And then when you're guarding somebody, certain tells that the receiver does, you may lock into it. Like, okay, whenever this guy does a slant, I notice that, he's out a little bit further from the ball, or they'll put one leg out instead of like little stuff like that. It's all a mind game, and certain tendencies you can pick up on that others can't.
Okay, so what grade would you give this pick, being that they turned it around for you?
Nah, for me, I actually gave this an A-, man.
A-, okay.
Yeah, because I was very, very excited. It hit a need, and it's a guy that I think will be a day one starter.
Oh, great. That's definitely something that's that we need to hear. Fill the need. Great player. That has the measurables. It's something that I think the Raider Nation is definitely going to get behind.
Yeah.
Our following pick number 34, offensive lineman Caleb Rogers.
Yeah.
What's the word with this kid?
Yeah. So Caleb Rogers, he was a guy I wasn't too familiar with when we drafted him, so I didn't really know too much about him. So I had to kind of go back and look. He's a versatile guy. He was a guy that played tackle and guard, so it's always good to have those guys on the line. So he's someone that can bring depth, but also really compete. There's people that think that he can compete for a starting position. I'm not sure if he'll start right away, but maybe with a good camp, he'll have the opportunity. But he is a guy that gets after it. He's a guy that has that high motor. He has that nasty edge to him a little bit. Like, he likes contact. And again, I like my linemen like that.
Yes.
Mean dudes that, guys that you're ready to kind of go to war with. So that's one thing I saw for him. He's a guy that I see developing into a starter, and he could probably be a starter for us, for some time.
Okay. So right now he's mostly considered a depth piece, correct?
I wouldn't say depth. I think they brought him in to really compete. So, I think if he has a good camp, don't be surprised if we start seeing him in rotations and possibly, giving some of those veterans a run for their money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he definitely has possibilities of being a starter. And what grade would you give him?
I'd give him a C, just because I do like what I saw from him. There were a couple other guys I kind of had my eye on, but again, I think he has a skill set. Anyone that checks a box for us, that in a position of need, I'm gonna have some grace with the grades. So, but I think a third round, being a C, I think that's fair for him.
Okay, that's not bad. Hey, being a C average student, I got through my education with it, and
look at you now. Look at you now, man. You doing big things.
It is all good. All right, next pick number 34, 98 altogether, is another offensive lineman. Oh no, we already did offensive tackle. Charles Grant.
Charles Grant, yeah. So Charles Grant, a lot of people are excited about him. he's a developmental guy. Now he's a guy who he came from a small school. He has like the physical tools, the measurables and stuff like that. There's some concern for me because he went to a small school, William and Mary. So, he did not play the best competition, and it's going to be a big jump in competition from, it's already a big jump from college to pro anyway, but coming from a smaller program to pro, it's going to be a huge jump. But he's a guy that, there are some things that pop out that you like, like Severe is very high on him. And there's other, media, that are very high on him. So he's not a guy I'm not going to expect him to compete right away. He's a project. I think maybe end of year 2, year 3, he'll really be in the rotation of things. So we'll see. Okay, so basically a depth piece, maybe. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, but I know he's a real smart kid. I think he's a academic All-American maybe. Yeah, so he's definitely a smart guy. I think he was a previous wrestler as well. So so he's kind of like that blank canvas. Like if he gets some good coaching, he might be able to be coached up and get some good production out of him. I just think he's just real green right now. So we just gotta be patient with him and see what he becomes. So based on all that information that you just gave us, do you think there would have been a better pick at the time? Or is he just good enough for a third round? There were some guys that I thought, because honestly I thought he probably would have been more of a 4th round guy. But I will say that there were some guys on the board who I had my eye on. But again, it's one of those things like with the draft, like mock drafts are easy because you can always start over and try again next week. So, but in NFL, it's like if you have a guy that you like, go get him. So like instead of trying to, hope and pray that he's still going to be there next round, like if you got a guy that you feel that strong about, go get him. And maybe he was just one of those guys. So we'll see. Okay. All right. So his grade? I'm gonna give him a C- just because I don't think we're going to get anything in return right away. But again, he's one of those guys that, if he works hard, put that work ethic in and develops, he may be a long-term starter for us in the future. Who knows? Well, let's hope, man. Let's hope. Let's try and keep some positivity. Yeah, for sure. So we're done with the 3rd round. We jump now into the 4th round where we have 2 picks. Yep. We have pick number 6 at 108 and pick 33 at pick 135. The first one was wide receiver Dante Thornton Jr. So we got another wide receiver. What are your thoughts on him? Now this is when again I got super excited because because this guy is he's a measurable guy. He's 6'5", runs a 4.3, another like Al Davis type of pick. And he excels at the exact thing that we need. He is a guy that is a burner. If you put him one-on-one with somebody, do it at your own risk because, if you throw up a 50-50 ball, a lot of times he can come down with it. So defenses have to respect that. So they have to put a safety behind sometime and give the corner a help. And when you do that, that's one less guy that Ashton Jeanty has to worry about, or that's one less guy that Brock Bowers has to worry about. So it opens it up for everyone else. Like he was like someone like him is who I wanted in the 2nd round. So once we got him, then the Jack Besh pick made sense to me because I'm like, okay, now Jack can work the middle along with Bowers, along with Jacoby. So now Gino's going to start having options. Yes. And just having Dante out there is going to help Ashton Jeanty. So now Gino's offensive weapons are starting to come together. So I'm like, okay, now I see the vision. So I was all for that, and I think he's going to be a day 1 starter. Okay, and do you think he's going to take Trey Tucker's spot? Yeah, so I think because Tucker is a slot guy. And again, we got Tucker to be a burner as well, but I think with Dante's height, he's a true vertical threat because You can't really throw a jump ball up to Tucker because Tucker's, he's short. So, but even a legit corner that is a very good corner, regardless, that height difference and just pure stature is tough to coach against because sometimes regardless how good the corner is, it's hard to deal with that height. It just is. You just throw that one-on-one ball up. At that point, it's basketball. Hey, go up and get it. A 6'5" guy, that's a problem.
Yeah. Then his arm length, and then I'm pretty sure he has hands, right? Yeah. You got the long arms. Like I say, he's just a long guy, man. So imagine trying to throwing a jump ball up to LeBron or something. It's like so not saying he's LeBron, but no, please don't. Please.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You bad timing, huh?
Yeah, you saw him last night.
Oh man. Yeah,
drama LeBron, but now let's get away from that. I don't want to talk about that. But hey man, it sounds like the Raiders definitely picked a great player. He's definitely going to be beneficial to us. Yeah, you say he more than likely will be a day one starter.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because we haven't really had that type. Like Henry Ruggs was that, but he's even more. I mean.
Ruggs wasn't that tall, right?
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, this guy's taller than Ruggs, man. Right. So, we haven't had this type of threat in a while, man. So, and again, just him being out there is a threat. Like, we're not going to throw him a lot of balls, right? But if we throw a couple deep ones to him, early in the game, the defense is going to, especially if he catches them, the defense is going to have to worry about that. Now they're making adjustments. It's like, okay, now that's one guy less in the box. Brock, time to eat.
Let's go.
Genty, it's time to eat. It opens up for everybody, man. So that's why I was so excited about that.
Oh, it sounds good to me, man. You're getting me excited.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, it was hit, but between him and Porter, man, I was super excited, man. It got me pumped up.
All right. So what grade would you give him?
I had to give him. I'll give him an A-, man. A-. Just because in college he didn't necessarily have a whole lot of production, but that's just kind of based on how that offense is at Tennessee. But he can mess around and be scary in the NFL. He definitely can.
Okay, well let's hope he is.
Yeah,
for everybody's sake in the Raider Nation.
Yep.
All right, our next player was a defensive tackle. I think it's like the smartest toy in the world. Tonka Hemingway.
That's a hell of a name.
Hell yeah, man, Tonka.
Yeah.
that's like it took me back to my childhood with my little Tonka trucks and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then Ernest Hemingway, that little tie right there. I was like, okay, this guy, just in the name, he sounds special.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, so Tonka, I gotta be honest. When we did first get him, I wasn't super thrilled because again, I know we needed a DT, but the type of DT I wanted was one of those big nasties, big run stoppers. And Tonka is more, he's a guy that can get after it, like get after the quarterback. More of a pass rushing guy. Just because he doesn't have that true size as a big like a two gap defensive tackle, but he has some explosive quickness to him. I think he has. To me, he's definitely going to be like a rotational piece. Someone that's going to have depth. Like I said, I wasn't super thrilled. Because there's other guys on the board at the time that I wanted, but. Again, he's a Raider now. I'm rocking with him, but yeah, it's that's kind of where I'm at with him.
All right, so depth piece, cool name. Fits our needs.
Yeah.
What is your total grade on him?
I would say I'll give him a C-.
C-.
Yeah,
okay.
C-. Yeah.
Okay, that's still a passing grade.
Yeah, C-. I would say when I first saw him, it was probably would have gave him a D, but he's growing on me a little bit.
Okay, and then we'll see what happens, in the upcoming months.
Yeah, now he has a motor, I know we just kind of talked about the guys I like as I watched him, he's a big guy he gets after it, when he's chasing down the quarterback, he's nonstop pursuit, so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's hope he does well. I'd love to rock a Hemingway jersey.
Yeah.
That looked pretty dope. All right, so now we skip the 5th round completely.
Yep.
And we go over to the 6th round where we have 3 more picks, which I thought was great. Now we're starting to get players to just, fill in the gaps, and we went from, what was it, 9 till 11 altogether. So I thought that was great. So let's start with the first pick, which was pick number 4, 180 altogether. Defensive tackle JJ, how do you say his last name? Pegues?
Pegues.
Pegues? Okay.
Yeah.
That was a weird one.
Yeah.
Pegues.
Yeah, Pegues. So so now Pegues has that size, in the DT that I was looking for. He's a guy that can stuff the run. Now he's a guy I was excited about. He's a two-way player. He's a guy that also brings some versatility where we could put him in at fullback. We can put him in the backfield for goal line running back,
Okay.
Yeah, like old school Zach Crockett, Yeah. Oh yeah. So, he could be our goal line threat, man. But
Okay.
yeah, I think he had like 7 rushing touchdowns. Yeah. So, I think almost every time he touched the ball, it was either a touchdown or a first down. So, it's always good to have, an explosive big boy like that. So, so I like that. I like that. He's a guy that played in the SEC, so he played against top talent.
Yes.
So I was pretty stoked about that. I was pretty stoked about now again, that pick made the Tonka pick, a little bit better. Like I was able to digest that a little bit better because now I'm like, okay, Tonka's not going to be asked to do something that he doesn't really do. Right. Yeah. So now we got a true 2-gap guy. So yeah, I was cool with JJ.
That's cool. It seems like it's the yin to the yang.
It is. It's like they drive me crazy with a pick, and I'm about to jump off a cliff, and then they do the next pick, and it reels me back in.
And the cool thing is that they were running. Well, as far as our picks, they were right after each other.
Yeah.
Even though it was a full round in between them, but they followed each other. So I think that's great. So for him, what grade would you give him?
For him, I would say, I'll give him a C+. C+. Yeah,
okay.
C+. Yeah.
And do you think he'll start from day one or
no? He'll be a rotation guy because I think we got our starters on the line. Because I think we'll, of course we got Max and Malcolm Kuntz on the edges, and then we have Christian Wilkins and I think Adam Butler.
I heard Christian Wilkins isn't 100% yet though.
Yeah, that's what they say. I honestly don't believe. I honestly, I'll be having my conspiracies. I think that news was just out there because they wanted to throw teams off on who may draft and stuff like that.
Right.
Because, I've seen videos of him like working out and moving. And so it's like, I don't know. But I don't think that, he's going to be in, any concern for missing time. So I think Christian Wilkins will be ready.
But let's say worst case scenario, Wilkins isn't quite 100% yet. Do you think that by the two picks that we got, they should fill that gap? I
think JJ, I definitely think JJ can be in there and be part of that rotation and push for some starting time. Absolutely. In fact, I like him better than some of the other guys we already got on the roster, kind of that's already in the rotation. So like the Matthew Butler and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do.
And see, and again, that goes to show, where the mindset of the coaching staff and the general manager is that they're filling those needs, even if like we don't truly need them, but the secondary, the second string, third string,
Yeah, you gotta have depth.
Definitely
Yeah.
have that, and that's what I love, because the team definitely showed us last year that without depth,
you're done. You're done. Yeah.
It's great to have all those starters, those day one starters, those huge stars, but when they get hurt, then what?
Then what? Exactly.
What are they gonna do? So this shows
next thing's gonna happen. They're gonna call me and you up to go play, man. They ain't got nobody else.
One play.
One play. Hey, I'm a beast.
One play, I'm good, because after that, I'm done, man. Working me.
Yeah.
All right. So your grade for, say his last name again? Pugs?
Puggies.
Puggies.
Yeah.
Pugs.
Yeah.
It sounds dirty.
Yep. What I say for that? I think
C minus. No, that was Hemingway, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. I think I think with him I can do a C. Yeah, I do a C plus, because I do like the versatility he has.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Now we go to pick 37, 213, wide receiver / quarterback.
Yeah.
Tommy Mellott.
They call him Touchdown Tommy. Salute to my boy Turf. He's a big fan of this kid. So this kid, he was a dual threat quarterback. And he's a guy that is very athletic. Guy that's fast, quick. From everything I'm hearing, they're gonna transition him over to receiver.
Right.
So someone that they can, they keep, we always compare. So, they think he could be like a Julian Edelman, that was with the not Panthers, but Patriots. Yeah. But the guy, he got some spunk to him, man. He got a little bit of rowdiness to him. He got some dog in him. Very competitive. So he's just another guy that's going to bring that competitive nature to the locker room. Again, I don't know, what, how much he can really help. But it is a need,
right.
We don't have that real quick jerky type, short yardage, middle, like we don't have like that Renfro. Like this guy's a more explosive Renfro. So, okay. And in Chip Kelly's offense, he could be a threat. He's just another weapon out there. So,
right.
Man, even have him do double passes, all kinds of stuff. So, we'll see. I mean, of course, he's got to earn his spot, being a 6th round pick. So,
right.
We'll see. I think they also, looking at putting him, in the kicking game as well, like returning kicks and stuff like that. So we'll see. He's just an all around athlete. So we'll see.
And those are good to have, because I remember in years past we went through a bunch of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, who's gonna throw the rock now?
Right.
Now we have, at least we have another viable option.
Yeah. Yep.
And hopefully he does work out as a wide receiver. He benefits our team. And we do good things with him. So you're great for him. What do you think?
I'll give him I'll probably give him a C. Yeah, I'll give him a C.
Okay.
Yeah.
C. All right. So now we go to pick 39, 215, quarterback.
Actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna give him a I'm gonna give him a B minus. Let me go up a little bit. Let me grade on the curve. Let me grade on the curve.
There we go. So, Tommy Mellott, B minus. Touchdown
Tommy.
There we go. All right. So the next one was QB Cam Miller.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this kid?
I can't lie. I wasn't too thrilled. He was another guy that, there was other quarterbacks on the board that, like, if we were going to go quarterback, I would have took a chance on. But when you look at his tape, I mean, he's a winner.
Right.
Again, not playing against, not playing against, top talent, but, he'll bring depth to the quarterback room, and he's a guy that can really, potentially, compete with AOC for that backup spot. And the thing with him is, he's more athletic. He can move.
Yeah.
So he has some of those traits that AOC doesn't have. AOC probably he does have a better arm, but it's just Chip Kelly. It seems like he's trying to bring in more athletic quarterbacks. So I don't know what that means ultimately for AOC.
And do you know anything of his college career? Was he a threat when it came to mobility, or?
I know he passed for quite a bit, but yeah, he can move, so he was mobile as well. I won't say he was like a true dual threat, but he was athletic. It's just a winner. I think he won two of the because he was in the FCS, so 2 of the FCS championships. Yeah, I think he won, or he either was in 2 of them or he won 2. But yeah, he's a winner. He's a winner. So another guy that's all very competitive. Guy that has leadership qualities. That's the kind of guys that we want. That's the kind of guys that Pete's really into. So he checks that box. So I thought that someone like him probably would have went undrafted, where we may have got him as a UDFA, but again, that was their guy, and they wanted to rock with him.
Well, that's cool, man. That's cool. So now we're gonna have 3 quarterbacks, right? With him? No, 4.
Yeah, 3, because Tommy, I wouldn't count Tommy as one, because I think he's gonna be.
What's that kid we picked up last year from?
Who, Carter Bradley?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think so it'll be Gino, ALC. Carter Bradley. Yep. You're right. And Cam
Bradley, and then this kid, and then obviously Malott if need be.
Yeah. Yep.
So do you think Carter Bradley, being that they picked Cam Miller, he will stay on the team, or do you think they're going to give him the boot because he didn't show much last season?
Well, the thing is, Carter Bradley actually looked good in the preseason, if you remember, because he played a lot in the preseason. But he didn't really get a chance to go in any real games. But the thing is, with Carter Bradley, it's almost like he's starting over as a rookie again, because it's a whole new offensive system. So everyone's at square one, learning it together. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Because what traditionally the Raiders have held up to 3 quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, so you'll hold two that's on the active roster, and then I think with the new rule, everyone can have like a 3rd string emergency quarterback. So
and then obviously practice squad.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. So what grade would you give Cam Miller?
I would have to give him. To be honest, I'm gonna say a D+. Yeah, I'm not against him, but.
He definitely has to prove it.
Yeah, he'll have to prove it. Okay. And again, with me giving him a low grade, that's just kind of like compared to like what I wanted. Like at that point, I would have been interested in, taking a chance on, some of those other quarterbacks that had, higher, have more production and stuff like that.
Is there any particular one that you would have picked?
Sure.
Or other position that you would have picked?
I'm trying to remember who was there at the time, because I think there was still a couple linebackers I was looking at. It's hard for me to remember right at the top of my head, but it's just he wasn't someone I had on my bingo card. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, because I personally think that we should have gone for another need position.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah,
but who knows what they're thinking.
Yep. But the thing is like if you're spending a draft pick on them, maybe they felt that they wanted someone else in the room that can really compete with AOC. So that was I guess the lowest grade you've given. Yeah. In the draft, but we'll see what time shows, man. Yeah.
Now we go to the final round, the 7th round, with pick number 6. 222nd, linebacker Cody Lindbergh. Yeah. I've heard from every show that I watched, I've been hearing a lot of great things about this pick. Yeah. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, no, I was happy because again, I was kind of like you. I'm like 7th round. We still have not touched the linebacker position. Right. And like going into the draft, I'm like, we needed to upgrade. So, but no, Cody is a guy that can, you know, he's a tackling machine. You know, he's a guy that, you know, has the instincts. He has leadership qualities and stuff like that. You know, he'll probably start off on special teams. You know, he'll be a guy that contributes. He'll add depth to like that linebacker room, but I think eventually he's a guy that can kind of push to you know, compete for one of those starting spots. You know, probably won't be year one, maybe not even year two, but I think he's a guy. He's the type of guy you want to build. You know, have he's like a worker bee. You know, so you're not gonna always have the stars. You can't stars everywhere. Sometimes you need just those worker bees, you know, lunch pail guys, blue collar. It's gonna be the foundation of your team, and he's I think he can be that.
Yeah, I forgot where I heard this, but what they were mentioning about our picks is that we might not have a lot of stars, but we have a lot of starters.
You know, I like that. I like that.
Players that can come and fill the needs that we have. You know, they might not be big names. You know, they might not sell a lot of jerseys.
Yeah, that's fine.
But they're gonna fill the needs that we have. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's all we can ask for.
That's it. Like that's what's important. You know, the big names are good, but you know, you got to sprinkle them in with the starters, the quality starters, and you got to have a good mix. You know, like those teams that have just all stars. A lot of times, you know, you know, the way the salary cap works, you can't have too many. So it's all about having a good mix, man. And I really like that Cody pick. Yeah.
You know, I like I said, I heard a lot of good things about him. He's kind of like Spillane-esque.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Green dot guy. Yep.
As a rookie, you know, and I'm truly hoping that he does work out.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause obviously it's one of the major needs that we have. You know, and based on all the positive talk about him, you know, I'm excited for our number 7th pick.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was all the picks. I'm sorry. What grade would you give Lindbergh?
I'm actually gonna give him just for the value. I'm gonna give him a B-, man.
Okay.
Yeah, B-. Just because of the value. You know, you get a guy that, you know, because sometimes people's, you know, 6th round and 7th rounds don't make the team. I really think he's gonna be a guy that's gonna get some minutes, man. Like I said, whether it's special teams or whatever, he's gonna be a guy that can get some minutes for us.
Okay. Well, I'm rooting for this kid.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody with the positive talk about him.
Yeah.
You know, got me really excited, and I'm hoping to see a lot of good things from him. So, all together, what would you give our draft grade this year? You know, because I heard a lot of B's.
Yeah, a lot of B's, and I went to C's. Yeah. So when I gave the grades, it was, you know, how I felt individually. But like now, once I get everyone together, I'm gonna give the grade a B. And I know it may not make mathematical. I won't say mathematical sense, but it may not make sense. Because, you know, I did have a lot of C's, but the thing is when you get a Porter, or when you get, or specifically when you get a Thornton Jr., you know, that B- that I may have for Genty, now I might take that up to a B+, A- for Genty, or, you know,
because it changes his productivity.
Exactly. So now it makes more sense. So that's why, you know, when I take it holistically, I'm gonna give it a B holistically, because I think, you know, there's a couple guys that dropped it a little bit, but you know, like people like Charles Grant, if he develops fairly quickly, you know, this could be an A draft for me. And a lot of people give it an A already. They give it an A or A+, and you know, I may, you know, I probably just don't drink the Kool-Aid as much as I used to, just because I'm more of a, you know, it's you got to show me at this point, because I get burnt every year. Every year I get burnt.
Exactly,
so,
brother. Exactly. I feel you, man. I feel
you.
Yeah,
you know how it is.
For me, being that outside of Genty, I really didn't have much information on our other picks.
Yeah.
But seeing again the needs that we had.
Yeah, we checked a lot of boxes.
Definitely, and I give him a B-.
Nice. Yeah.
You know, just because of filling those needs.
Yeah.
The athletic prowess of these players I have no clue.
Yeah.
But just on needs and the excitement of a lot of the Raider Nation on these picks, definitely goes as a B- for me.
Yeah.
And just hoping that these were smart picks, not emotional picks like we've done in the past.
So many years. Yeah.
And obviously being a pessimistic Raider fan now, I'm just I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Let's see what these guys have, and it just seemed like it was good all the way around. I'm happy. The Raider Nation is ecstatic. You're okay with it.
Yeah.
So you know what? It's the world is good right now.
Yeah.
The world is definitely good. Now, we also heard that they picked up 16 undrafted free agents. Those, do you know just any information on them? Like any players that stand out?
Yeah, there was a few. We did a show the other day, just kind of going through all of them. They actually picked up another quarterback, the guy that from UNLV. He's another mobile guy, so he's another guy that's mobile, that's going to move. Kobe Bryant, who's a cornerback. He was a guy that I thought was going to get drafted, so he didn't get drafted, but we brought him in. We got a big boy. We got us a big boy, a big D tackle. His name is Anthony Booker, and his nickname is the Tank.
Oh man!
Anybody the name the Tank, I'm good with. I think he's about like about 345 or 348 or something. Big guy, big strong man. So again, guys like that that's at least going to compete.
Right.
Because again, people got to realize there's guys all over the league, man, that are non-drafted free agents. Jacoby Myers was a non-drafted free agent. Like, you just never know. You just got to get the right guys in there. One of my good friends that I grew up with, he was an undrafted free agent. He played about 11 years in the NFL, got a Super Bowl ring. So, awesome. You just never know, man. So those undrafted free agents are, can bring some good stuff to the table too.
And I heard, I was watching The Rush with Max Crosby, and he was mentioning, he was kind of a little teed off on, I believe it was Mel Kiper Jr.
Yeah.
When he was talking about the ceilings and floors of the different players.
Yeah.
And he was mentioning that, how do you know what the ceiling of a player is if you're not in the player's mind?
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
A player, his mindset in college could be one thing, because you're dealing with sports and academics.
Yeah.
In football, you're just dealing with the sport, period.
Yep.
Focus.
Yep.
So you don't know, a lot of these guys that they probably said, oh, he doesn't have a high ceiling. Maybe that was the case in college.
Exactly.
But who knows in the pros?
Yeah, someone that can focus, put those blinders on. I mean, so especially if you get guys that have that ultra work ethic, where it's like, I don't have to, go to calculus class today. Like, I can just focus on
football. Now you're shooting high there, calculus. Football player, come on.
But seriously, it's like, man, where you can just focus on ball. I mean, because again, I played a little college ball, and it's tough because, again, you gotta study. You gotta, go to class and do all that stuff. But
and you gotta party.
Yeah, and you got to party. You definitely got to party, So, but when you're talking about the NFL, if you really got that mindset,
yep.
Man, you can hone in, man. You got the money to start getting your own trainer. So you got a nutritionist now. Like, you don't have to just eat at the chow hall. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's a whole different ball game, man.
Yeah, everything is taken care for you.
Exactly.
Your workout regiments.
Exactly.
Your meal regiments that you're talking about. practices, the because obviously there's still classroom time when they study plays and all that stuff, but it's definitely a different environment.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Where I think if a kid comes in with the right mindset, he could definitely excel.
Oh, absolutely.
He
Absolutely.
could definitely excel. So, those are the things that listening to other individuals, especially individuals like Max Crosby that had actually gone through the whole process and is a superstar in the NFL, shows me and tells me that, you know what, these kids are, I don't think they're being graded properly because we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know what their mindset is. We don't know what their motivation is.
Yeah.
You know, and that could definitely change. Hopefully for the positive within the Raider organization, you know, and based again on our leadership, how they made their decisions and their picks, it seemed like it's going that way.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, man. So Raider Nation, that was the 2025 draft. You know, it was a pretty good one, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
You know, now we just have to wait and see. The next thing we got to look forward to is the schedule. It comes out, what is it, May 14th?
14th, yeah.
So roughly in about 2 weeks from this week. So, you know, now we get
gonna find out when we get to get back together, man, and drink some tequila shots or some whiskey.
Sir.
You know what we do?
Yeah, man. I already talked to my wife. She's like, hey, so when are we doing a family trip? I'm like, let me talk to the guys first.
Yeah.
Let me get those days solidified, and then we'll do the family trip.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get the war room together so we could hang out. You know, maybe have a meet and greet in Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, have a good time like we did last year with you, Cheeto, Chona, and myself.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's just it's a good time, and I'm so excited for that. So
yeah,
come May 14th, you know, we're gonna know what game we're gonna go to.
Oh yeah, for sure,
You know,
for sure.
Is there any particular game you want to go see?
In Vegas, no one in particular. I just want to see like just a good quarterback. You know, I always like seeing those games. So I can't think off the top of my head, but yeah, I like to see a good quarterback. I know we play the Browns again
Yes.
there. You know, so I don't know. You know, we'll see. I just like being there in Vegas anyway, hanging out with you guys. So I really don't care who we play. There's a few away games that I got my eye on though.
Okay. Speaking of which, I remember last year a lot of your family members came down, right, to Vegas.
Yeah. I did have some family up. Yeah.
Is that gonna happen again?
Probably, yeah. You know, once the season start or once the the schedule drops, because you know one thing about the Cleveland Browns fans, they travel, man.
Yeah, they do.
They're kind of like
cool
us, man. Huh?
They are cool as hell.
Oh, they are. They're real cool, man. They're real cool.
I got to hang out with a couple of Browns fans over at J-Lot.
Yeah,
they were really, really cool.
Yeah, they're cool. I mean, because they're down to earth like us. Like you know, it's like we're here for the experience. You know, we know our team isn't always competitive, but we love them anyway. You know, so I always enjoy fan bases like that because our last playoff game when we played in Cincinnati, I was there at that game in Cincinnati. You know, they're usually losers, but you know they had a good year that year and they beat us.
Right.
But the fact after they beat us, they was just so cool. They were like, man, heck of a game, man. You know, you guys were all like, they were just real cool and humble because they haven't won a playoff game in like 30 years, something crazy. Right. I forgot how long it's been, but
no, that's I love that aspect of
of
football, man. You know, where win or lose, you know, you have a good time together.
Exactly. That's what it's about, man.
Yes, sir. Well, now lastly, there's something I want to add away from the draft, away from all the NFL news. What happened with the War Room Draft Championship? Who took it, brother?
So we decided just there's two kings, man. There's two kings.
Oh,
yeah, we didn't have a true champion. You know, Severe won the first three.
Right.
I won the last three. And
got a goose egg?
Yeah. So all we came up with is 805 is hot dog water. You know, we call him hot dog water when it comes to this mock draft thing. So me and Severe are the kings, and 805 is just hot dog water. So next time you're in a comment, put hot dog water. 805 will know exactly what you mean.
So hey man, well, okay. Being that we're gonna get together, you know, for a game this season, I want to have an unofficial competition for the King of the War Room draft.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll figure it out.
Does Severe drink?
No, he doesn't.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Well, there goes that idea.
Yeah. He wouldn't want no competition with. There ain't too many people that want competition with me on that. So
yeah,
Severe definitely no.
we could have a chug fest of some sort, but well, since he doesn't drink, But hey, man, congratulations.
Yeah.
3, that's good.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Obviously, Severe, based on what you mentioned of him, he is an individual that is not to be reckoned with when it comes to football.
Oh no, Severe is a great football mind, man. 805 is too, man. That's why I love that show so much, because we all got different perspectives. But you talking about 3 guys that love ball, you can't find that elsewhere, man.
That's right. Raider Nation, go check out the War Room, man. These guys know what they're talking about. Very entertaining, a lot of fun to watch. Like, subscribe to my boy Chris at Protect the Shield. They're on there Sundays and Tuesdays, right?
Yeah. Yep. Sundays and Tuesdays. Yep.
Yeah. All right, Raider Nation. Now let's see what Chris has got going on, because from the last time we talked, Chris is starting to get really, really busy. Chris, let them know what you got, my brother.
Yeah, man. It's starting. They done woke up a beast now. They done woke up a beast. I done got my swag back. So yeah, so yes, so I do got my show every Tuesday and Sunday with my brothers, the Raider War Room. And then every Wednesday, I got my show with Spicy Raider Girl. We call that the Spicy Shield Talk. So every Wednesday we got that. It's a shorter show, about usually about 30 to 45 minutes. It's more of a fun show, fan interactive. We just like to have fun on that one. And then Shield Talk Thursdays, I'm bringing that back. That's my show. So I'm getting that. And actually tonight, my special guest is going to be the linebacker. I had Tim Johnson, a former linebacker for the Raiders. I'm bringing him back, and I'm going to be able to ask him some of those questions, that I wanted to know about someone who was an undrafted free agent. Kind of, where was your mindset? Where was his mindset when he was playing, going to your first camp? Because in fact, I think his first camp was with Baltimore Ravens. So, like being a linebacker, what was it like walking in a room and the first thing you see is Ray Lewis, one of the best linebackers ever. So it's going to be fun kind of talking to him and getting an understanding of what some of these young kids are feeling and going through right now. So definitely check me out on that. And then, again, me and TRS, where we're going to continue doing stuff, and me and Dub gonna continue doing stuff. So just long story short, make sure you guys subscribe and hit the bell notification and share to anyone that that likes Raider content, man. We're gonna keep grinding.
And it's fire content, let me tell you guys, because before Chris and I ever did anything, I was a fan of his shows. I always watched him. It was great information. And what I truly loved about it is the way he conveyed that information. It wasn't like sitting there at like an ESPN studio where they're just looking at the camera and just just spilling out information. Yeah. This is like talking to a friend. Yeah. Just giving you information from the heart, from a true fan, not just somebody that, studies up the X's and O's of football and then just spews out that information. Right. He's talking to you as a friend, as a fan, and as part of the Raider Nation. So please check all his shows out. They are fire, all of them.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. And then as far as myself, by the time this episode airs, I'm going to be going to Northern California, to the Northern Nevada Black Hole Barbecue and Car Show. It's going to be in Richmond, California. I'm going to be recording an episode of the Raider Nation roll call for that episode. The reason I'm going is because I'm donating shirts to the kids that attend that event. They asked me if I could be a sponsor, and I'm like, hey, definitely. And anything that can help the community, that can help the kids, even if it's just a small t-shirt, that's a step in the right direction to creating our future Raider fans. I love it. And that's my goal with everything that I do. Like we say, it's for the nation, by the nation. And, that is the thing that motivate me. Yeah. So I'm going to be up there. By the time you watch the show, I'm probably going to be already hungover, but it should be a great time. And also, Stogie Nation is coming back. Yes. Unfortunately, I I'm gonna try and incorporate MC Raider as much as I can, but that man is just too.
Nah,
too
yeah.
He's too busy.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, more props to him. Salute to MC Raider.
He's killing it, man. He's killing it.
He's killing it as a comic. He's killing it with his content. You know, he's doing his thing, and you know, unfortunately, between work, between family, you know, our schedules kind of crisscross too much. So, but I still want to continue with the Stogie Nation. You know, it's something that's a lot of fun. So I have some surprises coming up with that.
Nice.
And obviously here with the Raider Nation Weekly Wire. We're going to continue giving you the news that the Raider Nation requires and the Raider Nation needs, you know, not overly fluffed, just basic stuff for you to understand. Continue with Chris's Weekly Word, Football 101. If there's any topics or any news that you want to hear about, excuse me, let me know, you know, or let Chris know, drop us a line and we will definitely incorporate it because we want to hear what you want to know.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're here for, is to inform you on things that you want to know. And then what else? I think that's about it for now. You know, gonna be working on all those projects with my brothers, and then obviously we're gonna pick the games that we're gonna attend.
Oh yeah.
You know, and have a good time together. So Raider Nation, again, thanks for showing up. Please like, subscribe, follow, tell the Raider Nation about this show. Remember, everything we do is for the nation, by the nation. Peace.
Raiders, let's go!